It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and finally we have gotten to the halfway point of 2009. We're taking a look at the films of July 3rd, 2009, but only two movies to look at today. There are two wide releases. There wasn't any other limited releases we're talking about, so let's just go ahead and get right to it. Let's start with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
The biggest event in 2 million years is about to go to a whole new dimension.
Nobody move a muscle.
On July 4th,
We've been living above an entire world, and we didn't even know it.
I feel so puny.
the bravest heroes in history will boldly go where no other mammals would dare. Ray Romano,
He'll bounce back. It's one of the advantages of being Sid.
John Leguizamo,
I'm a mommy.
Dennis Leary,
For the record, I blame you for this.
and Queen Latifah.
Ellie!
Talk to the trunk.
Scrat. And introducing Scrat-A. This summer, get ready.
You don't spit out little Johnny, we're leaving the playground this instant. Oh, there we are. A picture of health.
That's not little Johnny.
Well, better than nothing.
For the dawn of a new age. Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Maybe you're hungry. I know just the thing.
Sid, whatever you're doing, it's a bad idea.
Hush, you mean this is animal? I'm your baby, and this is mine.
I thought you were a female!
Only in theaters, 4th of July weekend in digital 3D.
And then after that, it was all downhill from there. Okay, at the end, they did kind of save it with the Scrat Tales show on Disney+, and we've got a new Ice Age movie coming out next year, so fingers crossed that they can turn it around, maybe, but yeah, this is the third installment of the Ice Age series, and in this one, we have Manny and Ellie expecting a baby. Diego's afraid that he's losing his mojo, and Sid finds 3 eggs and becomes a mother. Crash and Eddie are still there, even though they really don't have much to do in this one, per se. And Scrat falls for a female squirrel called Scrat-A, and also wants his acorn back as well. Okay, there's not really a whole lot of story there, but the film story kicks in when 3 eggs that Sid find are actually dinosaur eggs and grow into 3 baby dinosaurs. When the little dinosaur's mama sees that Sid has taken her kids, she takes them and Sid into the lost world of the dinosaurs underneath the icy world that our heroes live on. Because why the fuck not? I mean, we're really going to question logic now? But yeah, it works in the favor of this movie, and, you know, the story deepens from there, because while they're down there, they meet a crazy adventurer named Buck Wild, played by Simon Pegg, hilariously by Simon Pegg, who's hunted the biggest dinosaur in the land, simply known as Rudy, after it took Buck's right eye, and Buck took one of its teeth and uses it as a weapon. Yeah, this is a film that is all over the place, but it works, and not only does it works really, really well. This is, without a doubt, the pinnacle of the Ice Age series, because, yeah, as time has gone on, I've realized, yeah, this movie is actually a whole lot better than I ever thought it was. Not to say that I didn't think it was bad before. The first time I saw it, I just thought it was just okay. It was nothing too incredible, nothing too amazing, but yeah, it's definitely, I think, more enjoyable than the other two films are. I think this is where they really went in on, just said, you know, because I think there was the belief that this was going to be the end of the series. I mean, it's the third installment of the series. You got your trilogy. So go ahead and end it on a high note. And Blue Sky Studios has definitely evolved in the 7 years since the first Ice Age movie came out. So we're going to see some really good animation. And not to mention, we're going to see the usage of 3D. And This was a movie that really used its 3D very, very well. I mean, this was still a relatively new technology that a lot of movies are trying to do. And, we had these animated movies that are using it really for the first time. I mean, Bolt did it last year, then Up did it a couple weeks ago, and now Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs. And they're showing that they can work with the material given to them, and they do a pretty good job of making it work. It really works all the way. I mean, right from the beginning with this really impressive-looking 3D logo from 20th Century Fox that they made specifically for this movie, which for some reason, if you watch the 2D version of it, it's not anywhere on the DVDs or Blu-rays. I don't know if they put it on there later on with releases that came afterwards, but if you watch it on Freeform, they do put it back on there, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it might be on streaming too, maybe it might be on Disney Plus, and I just haven't gotten a chance to look at it. I haven't watched it on Disney Plus in a while, but yeah, this is overall a really good movie, and I like the fact that everybody kind of has their own story arc going on in this movie. Everybody has a purpose to being there, with kind of the exception of maybe Crash and Eddie, who just kind of are there to just be kind of stock comic relief, even though they're still part of the story a little bit. Like, you can definitely tell they are kind of the weak links in this movie. Even Ellie and Diego have kind of a subplot where they're kind of pushed off to the side a little bit, but it does eventually come back in the second half, especially in the climax when they have to work together when they're underneath the dinosaur world. But really, the star of the movie is Buck, played by Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg's having an incredible summer with this and Star Trek, being the breakout stars of those movies. I mean, he is really good in this movie, and he has a ton of the best moments in the film. He's kind of the equivalent to Robin Williams as the genie in Aladdin. This is Simon Pegg's genie. I mean, he just plays this part to a T, and you get the feeling that he improvised a ton of stuff in this movie, and they just said, just go with it, and we'll see what works, and yeah, it's really hilarious stuff. The stuff he does in this film is so well done. It's so hilarious and very good. The animation overall is really good, and yeah, you can question the logic of how dinosaurs exist in this world, in the same time period as Eskimos and all that type of stuff, and what we had beforehand, but the logic really does not really matter here. As long as you're getting entertainment value from this, it really should not matter to you whatsoever. And you get a lot of good entertainment value in here. The subplot with Scranton and this female squirrel is actually pretty good too, and it actually kind of plays into the story as well. Like, slowly but surely, they were starting to realize that maybe we should have Scranton interact more with the story. They didn't fully go all in with it with the next couple of movies, but yeah, it really was something where it's just kind of like here. It's about as close as you're going to get to it being a major part of the storyline, and I think it works very, very well. If there's any flaws to the movie overall, the big baddie in this movie, the thing that Buck is going after, Rudy, like, you think they're building it up, they're building it up to be like this big, dominant threat. Like, this is supposed to be like the equivalent of Sharptooth from The Land Before Time. It's just like, you don't want to fuck with this guy whatsoever. You finally get to him at the end, and it's just kind of like, oh, he's just a normal-looking venomous dinosaur with red eyes. Okay, and yeah, there really is nothing about it that works whatsoever. Maybe if they kind of tied it into the mother in this of the dinosaurs, maybe it's actually the father or something like that. Maybe you could have had something there, but other than that, he's just kind of a generic bad guy, pretty much, that they kind of throw in there at the last minute. Kind of like with the two creatures from the last movie, Ice Age: The Meltdown, who really didn't do a whole lot. They were just kind of there to be set up as the bad guys for the climax of the film, and that's kind of like what happens here. But then again, nothing really. It's just kind of a nitpicky thing per se, but I enjoyed a whole lot of the movie. I even like the fact that they do tackle some stuff here that you wouldn't expect here, like the whole idea of parenthood, what it means to be a parent. Like, you have these two elephants who are about to have a kid, and the father elephant is really nervous about becoming a parent, and meanwhile you have Sid finding these 3 eggs, and all of a sudden he could instantly become a mother, and just like that. And it's just kind of like, it's really funny how this whole thing sets up, and it's done very well. I think aspiring young parents really can relate to something like this about, what you're in for when you're about to have a kid, and you don't really expect that from a movie like this. Keep in mind, this is 10 years before Pixar was eventually before Blue Sky eventually became a part of Disney. So yeah, it's something really impressive that this film was able to do. That's why I kind of give this movie more of an appreciation nowadays than I would have had almost 16 years ago. Because yeah, back then I liked the film, but I still didn't think it was as good as the original film. But now I can definitely see that this probably is the overall best film in the series in terms of animation, in terms of storytelling, in terms of the comedy, in terms of the voice work. Just everything about it just works really, really well. And I'm glad I got a chance to rewatch it again and see that, yeah, it actually is something that is much more than I thought it was. It was a really entertaining film. It was a really good movie. It could have been a good way to end the series. And then they had to ruin it with the sequels, Continental Drift and Collision Course, which, yeah, I saw Continental Drift in theaters, which basically I only went to see that because of the Simpsons short, but we'll get to that in 2012. And then I didn't even bother seeing Collision Course until well after it came out. Like, it was just... Because at that point, they were really struggling to find a way to keep that series going afloat. And even when they did the Disney Plus movie with Buck Wild, which should have been awesome, but it just really... It was really terrible. I think it ended up being the worst movie I saw in 2022 because of just how choppy and how bad the animation was, and just what a waste of time that was. Just could have been so much more, which I was surprised that Scrat Tales ended up being as good as it was, because, yeah, it was really good on Disney Plus, and that was the last thing Blue Sky did before the studio shut down, unfortunately. And now they're working on the 6th Ice Age movie, which I'm willing to give it more of a chance because Disney's now involved in it, and, I'd be curious to see what they can do with it, per se. Hopefully it can work out, but, I mean, it can't be any worse than what Continental Drift or Collision Course or The Adventures of Buck Wild, ended up being. It's got to be better than those. I'd have to think it's got to be better than those. There's no reason why you would bring this back, except if you have an idea to actually continue the story along, but... Then again, maybe it is that, but I don't know. We'll all figure that out when we see it next Christmas, in 2026. Not this Christmas coming up, but the next one, But bottom line, Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, probably my favorite one of the entire series, and that's one that I'm glad I got to watch it again to realize that, because it is definitely a whole lot better than I gave it credit for beforehand. It's a really good movie. It's one I highly recommend checking out. So that's Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here. It's the latest film from Michael Mann, Johnny Depp and Christian Bale starring in Public Enemies.
How long did it take you to go through a bank?
About 1 minute, 40 seconds. Flat.
On July 1st.
Your task will be to get John Dillinger. Are you up to that task?
Absolutely, sir.
Meet the man
You're too good for him. He ain't tough enough, smart enough, or fast enough.
behind the myth.
The whole country thinks you're a damn hero.
So later, we'll get John Dillinger.
Well, we'll see about that.
Public Enemies, rated R. In theaters July 1st.
The end of a pretty promising decade for Michael Mann. He made a lot of really good movies. Ali, Collateral, his last film, Miami Vice, was very underrated. And this one is probably the weakest one of the three, but it's still pretty good. You have a story taking place during the Great Depression and chronicling the final years of the notorious bank robber John Dillinger, played by Johnny Depp, as he's pursued by FBI agent Nelvin Purvis. It's just a weird name, played by Christian Bale. Dillinger's relationship with Billy Fricci, played by Marion Cotillard, Bruce Wayne meeting up with Talia al Ghul later, is of course 3 years later in The Dark Knight Rises, as well as Purvis's pursuit of Dillinger's associates and fellow criminals. You have a cast also includes Jason Clarke, Stephen Dorff, David Wenham, Stephen Graham, Lily Sobieski, Stephen Lang, I said Stephen Dorff, but yeah, this is a movie that at the time it came out, it didn't really do that much in general in terms of like getting people that excited for it. It kind of underperformed at the box office, and I can definitely see why. One of the biggest problems with the movie right from the get-go is the fact that they used HD cameras in this film. And I know that Michael Mann is all in on the HD camera concept, and it works for a film like Collateral or Miami Vice, but when you do a period piece movie set in the 1930s during the Great Depression and during the storyline where it's supposed to be, you're supposed to feel like you're in the 1930s, it really doesn't work here. For some reason, like, it's hard for me to distance this from something that is something that's supposed to take place in the 30s, or something that's supposed to take place in the 2000s, just like how Miami Vice and Collateral did it. Those films worked because they did that so well. But in this movie, it really takes you out of it right away, and it just kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the movie. And, there's also a scene where, Dillinger gets out of prison for the second time, and he's constantly forced the cops to open the doors, and the cops on the other side opens the door. And I kept thinking to myself, these have got to be some of the dumbest security guards ever. And you know, it says something when Paul Blart or Seth Rogen's character from Observer Report could be better security guards than the guys in this movie. And, yeah, stuff like that can take you out of the film pretty quickly. But other than that, though, it's not a bad movie. It is an entertaining, fun film that does deliver. The performances by Depp and Christian Bale are very good. A cast that includes some notable names: Billy Crudup, you know, as I said before, Marion Cotillard, Giovanni Ribisi, Lily Sobieski. I mean, there's definitely a lot of good performances in here, and the action could still be pretty intense to watch. There is still a lot of really good elements to the film. I think the settings overall, the way they recreated the 1933's Sioux Falls, they do a pretty good job of handling that overall. It's definitely not a good movie. It's definitely probably one of Michael Moore's more weaker films, but in a decade that includes Ali, Collateral, and Miami Vice, that's a pretty good decade for Michael Mann. And really, this is honestly his last great film that he made, because the next two films he would make, Ferrari and Black Hat, were really, really underwhelming films, and Black Hat was just a terrible movie because it was just so bland and boring. Nothing really happened in that movie. And, yeah, that's probably the worst movie Michael Mann has ever attached himself to. But this one right here, it's still good enough for me to say it's definitely worth a watch. It doesn't rank up there with the top gangster movies like The Untouchables or Godfather or American Gangster, but it's still good enough to see. I think you should see it. You're going to be distracted a lot by the HD cameras in here, but once you get past that, the film overall can work as a whole. It's definitely got a lot of flaws to it, but overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it was still a really enjoyable film. It definitely could have been a whole lot better, but it is what it is. So yeah, I say watch it. Just don't go in there expecting it to be a great gangster classic by any means. So that's Public Enemies for you. And just like that, that's another episode of Time About the Movies and the Books. Next time we meet, we'll take a look at 2 more summer movies. We're not getting any big indie movies we're talking about here, but we have Sacha Baron Cohen's follow-up to Borat, Bruno, released by Universal Studios, produced by and made by the same team that made Borat. So naturally, you would think that this was a match made in heaven again, or was Borat really a one-trick pony? Well, we're going to find out next time around. And we'll also take a look at Chris Columbus returning to a place he hadn't been in a while. The smaller coming-of-age teen comedies with I Love You, Beth Cooper, starring Hayden Panettiere, based off the book by Larry Doyle. So we'll take a look at both of those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and the bell. That's where you get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So, with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.